Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Remove your caps if you have one. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to our Thursday morning meeting, May 16th of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Tom's left, we have Nadine McCarty, who will be taking care of us today, and Greg McNally, who is the Director of our Planning and Community Development. To my right, Commissioner Candace Payne. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Deputy County Attorney Nico Hash and Keegan Shea with us today, and our Chief Administrative Officer, Roger Baltz. Good morning, gentlemen. Again, I'll mention that we have a sign-in sheet going around. We'd like to have a good record of who's attended our meeting today. As well, there should be agendas up front there for your ability to follow along. Greetings to everyone. It's nice to see a lot of folks here today. Appreciate you being here and participating in your local government. We will start the day with a proclamation. We have a proclamation for May being the Historic Preservation Month. And Stardo, I did leave the official copy right there on the podium, so you can use that or not, but take it with you when you're done.
I will do that.
Fantastic. And you have the floor. If you have a little bit of information for us or just want to launch in, you're welcome to do that.
Okay. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Pam Attardo. I am the Historic Preservation Officer for the city and county. And we have a proclamation here. May is historically been a Historic Preservation Month. And so we just wanted to read a proclamation and then I'll give you a small update on what we've been up to. So I'm beginning with whereas Historic Preservation Month is celebrated with a variety of activities in Helena and Lewis and Clark County and across Montana in the nation during May 2024. And whereas the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County Preservation Program was originally established by the 1989 Interlocal Agreement and joined other Montana communities as part of the Montana Certified Local Government Program for Historic Preservation. And whereas the Helena, Lewis and Clark County Heritage Preservation and Tourism Development Council, or HTC as we are known, was created by the 2012 Interlocal Agreement to promote the preservation of historic and prehistoric sites, structures, objects, buildings, and historic districts by addressing historic preservation issues at the local level and integrating them into local, state, and federal planning and decision-making processes. And whereas a duty of the HTC is to review and provide comment on development within the historic districts and any development affecting historic properties and heritage tourism, and to serve as an advisory capacity to the governing bodies in coordination with the Heritage Preservation Officer. And whereas the HTC, a 7-member volunteer advisory committee consisting of city and county appointees, has written nuggets from Helena articles that have been published in the Independent Record and provided annual Historic Preservation Awards to businesses and homeowners as part of their public outreach. And whereas Helena currently has 9 historic districts and 37 individually listed properties on the National Register of Historic Places, including 2 cemeteries. Whereas the HTC assists the city with reviewing and providing recommendations for applicant requests to alter downtown historic building exteriors subject to facade easements, historic tax abatement and TIF applications for projects, demolition applications for historic buildings, and generally advising the public about options related to historic preservation. And whereas Lewis and Clark County has 4 historic districts, including 2 ranches and 23 individual listings that also include 2 cemeteries and 4 bridges to date. And whereas the HTC assists the county with reviewing and providing recommendations for major subdivision applications, has coordinated with major historic preservation projects in the county, including Unionville School, East Helena Depot, the 1903 Helena Trolley, and the Lincoln and Silver City cemeteries, and generally advises the public about options related to historic preservation. And whereas the HTC assists with historic research in the city and county and reviews nominations to the National Register of Historic Places. And whereas The 75th anniversary of the Man Gulch Fire will be remembered this summer by the U.S. Forest Service, Montana Discovery Foundation, National Smoke Jumpers Association, and other partners. And whereas the Man Gulch Fire will also be recognized by a new wildfire mural that will be painted this summer in the Lindale Avenue Tunnel by artist Elise Pepignano. And therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lewis and Clark County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 2024 to be Historic Preservation Month, and all citizens are invited to join in recognition of Helena's and Lewis and Clark County's wealth of historic districts, structures, and places.
Thank you very much. I'll let you continue to give us some highlights of the work this year.
Yeah, so some of the things that were mentioned in this document were the Unionville School, which is a school that was originally a mine office, and it was called the IXL mine, and it was located in Park City, just down the road from where current Unionville is now. So in 1866, it was built in 1866. The mine sustained a fire, and the school and the building was no longer in use. So it was eventually sold in 1872 to the folks in Unionville to have a school for their children. So the Unionville School is at 1990 Orofino Gulch. It is owned by the county. It was used as a school until 1955. In 2013, a person who lives next door, Wally Jester, brought it to our attention that the school was having some issues with the roof and the siding. And so we obtained a grant from the Foundation for Montana History, re-roofed the building, removed the existing paint that was on there, which was not the actual color. It was red when we first saw it. But it originally was white with green trim. So we repainted it. And that was great. And then several years later, we had some issues with one of the walls was bowing out. It had some very large windows in it that did not have a header. So it actually was compromising the entire structure. It could have potentially failed. So we applied for an ARPA grant as well as a Foundation for Montana History grant. I received both of those. That's a total of $105,000 in grant funds to repair this building. And that is what we have been doing for the past over a year at this point. And we are, as I said, we'll be wrapping it up by August, the end of August this year. Another one is the Lincoln Cemetery, which dates to very early, about 1865, one of the first burials. Many of the graves are unmarked. It was originally on, Lincoln Gulch was a mining settlement. And, obviously when you have a settlement, you need some place to bury people who pass away. And so that's what this cemetery was. It is not, it's not anywhere near where current Lincoln is now. You have to go up by the jerky factory. You have to go up through the woods there, and there's some signs that'll take you to it. But it's a pretty cool cemetery. A lot of the graves are unmarked. Some of them are marked, and they do have grave fences. Those grave fences are at this point are over 100 years old, and we have rehabilitated one of them. And we're in the process of this summer, we'll be doing the other two. There are only 3 graves that had fences on them that we know of. We do know who is buried there, but not necessarily where, unless there are some that we specifically do know, but there are many that are unmarked. So this is through an MOA with a memorandum of agreement with the Forest Service to do fix the fences, put some signage out there. And so that's what we will be doing.
Fantastic. Thank you for those couple of highlights. And it is great. Those were important because especially having a room full of people and those that might be watching today, I hope people get out and see these historic spots that now have been restored to some degree and will be available for public viewing in the school in Unionville. Hopefully that will be in public use.
Yes.
Community events and those
Yes.
kinds of things in the near future. So commissioners, anything you'd like to add about historic preservation Month?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please share the proclamation with the board.
I will do that.
And thank you for your
Thank
good
you.
work. All right. Okay, we will move on. We don't have any consent action items today, Mr. Baltz, so you're off the hook. So we'll move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is approval of an invoice payment. Captain Wright is here from the Sheriff's Office. Captain Wright.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. In front of you, the Commissioners will consider the payment to Gruber Excavating in the amount of $9,574. The work for this was completed on March 2 in 2024 at 5655 McHugh, which is the county cemetery.
State your name and
Oh.
spell it.
Kevin Wright, KEVIN WRIGHT. That's me.
For the record.
For the official record, yes. The reason you have this in front of you, this is originally for a part of an ARPA project for the mobile morgue, which is currently housed at that address. When it was installed or delivered there, it was identified that in order to make it truly a mobile morgue, we had to expand the road out. The work consisted of removing an existing culvert and replacing it with a larger one, and basically just flaring out the road ends so that that trailer could be accessed in and out of that area to make it a mobile morgue. So without doing this work, it was not going to be able to do that in a timely fashion. It apparently took some work to get it in where it is now, but with this work being done, we do truly have that access to it, and it would be used in the event of such tragedy that it was called into service. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Wright. Questions, Commissioners? Any questions? How about public comment on the approval of payment of this invoice for the excavation work done at the county cemetery? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to pay the bill to accept the work as done and represented in this invoice from Gruber Excavating.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the invoice payment as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is a grant task order for public health emergency preparedness. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. I am Laurel Riek, the Environmental Health and Disease Prevention Division Administrator with Lewis and Clark Public Health. Today, I have before you a grant task order for public health emergency preparedness between Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services and Lewis and Clark Public Health. These funds total $111,541 for the period between July 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. This is a continuation of the work to enhance local public health capacity to respond to events impacting public health. Resources are intended to assist in sustaining or progressing towards achieving the 15 public health preparedness capabilities as defined by CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control. The task order outlines specific services that will be completed for the release of these funds. Activities include updating plans, protocols, and guidance documents for staff and collaborating with community partners to respond to an emergency. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions related to this grant task order?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Rolfe.
my understanding is this is an continuation of an agreement that was started in July of 2019. Is that right?
Actually, these funds originated after 9/11. I'm not sure which year it is, but it's in the early 2000s.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rolfe, I think what you're referring to is the master contract, which started in July 1, 2019, goes through June 30th, 2026. That's the And that's why we do these task orders within that master contract with the State Department of
Thank you.
EPHHS. So yeah, it is a little confusing there in terms of the dates, but I think that's what it's referring to. So
Okay.
thank you. And this has been a long standing piece of our structure and operation over the years. This is as the funds come down from the state of Montana, then we follow protocols and do the preparation and develop our plans.
That is correct.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner?
I have a question. I have some questions. You know how I am.
Yes.
So this is a grant that we receive from the state. The money comes from it's given to us by the state, right?
It comes from CDC to the state and passed down to
Okay.
counties.
CDC being fed. It's all taxpayer money. We know that. Okay, so the CDC is the federal government and they funnel it down to the state. And then they figure out how the counties get it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, did we have this entire amount included in our budget for 2024 that we're currently in?
This is, if I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it's a little bit like $10,000 more than the 24 year.
Okay. And this is to be included in the 2025 budget?
Yes, it is.
So we have used part of have we used part of the $111,541 in the current budget?
Not at all.
Okay.
This is for the coming fiscal year.
Okay. The budget is the really hard part of being a county commissioner. We need to make sure I understand it. So thank you, Laurel. That's all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any further questions, commissioners?
None here.
Okay, how about any public comment on this item? Grant task order, public health preparedness, emergency preparedness. Any public comment? Any public comment? Please, come forward, please state your name and address for the record so that we have a good record of who's. Well-
Hi, thanks. I don't know the
State your name.
documents. Oh, Diane Anders. 703 9th Avenue. Is that you need my address?
That's perfect.
Okay.
State your last name again?
Anders.
Anders. Great,
Anders,
thank
yeah.
you.
I obviously haven't read the document. I don't know all the information. But if there is anything to do with lack of freedom of citizen choice regarding any kind of vaccine mandate, I would have to say no. Because I don't know if that has any connection, because I don't know the documentation. I don't know the background. But if it was established in 2019, it just raises up my red flags. So just that comment is all.
Thank you very much for your comment. Any further public comment? Any further public comment? Welcome.
Terry Barney, and I'm Helena, Montana. My only comment is when we approve grants, accountability as to what the money is actually being spent for. I think we do a very poor job of that, and it is taxpayer money. So what I would request from you is to know where the money is going, how it is being spent, and is it valuable? A lot of times it is spent on studies that just really don't work. And I am tired of that as a taxpayer. I am good on taking care of citizens, but we need to do things properly when we're spending a lot of money. It shouldn't be going on theories and this and that. It needs to go on something that is real and tangible. That's all I'm saying. So I hope you do your due diligence before you spend the money. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Any further public comment? Any further public comment? Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Chairman, I move that we approve the grant task order for public health emergency preparedness as presented by Laurel, Riek.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant task order as presented. Further discussion.
Just
Please.
one comment. I just want to assure the public that we do take a look at the dollars being spent. We're in the budget process right now of determining how money is being spent for the coming fiscal year that starts the 1st of July. And there is a great deal of oversight to make sure things are being handled properly. And I understand your comments and your concern about frivolous spending. I don't think you'll find that here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further comment?
Nope.
Thank you, Commissioner. Same, kind of the same note in that I hear the public comment and agree with the sentiment that we have to make sure that we are good stewards of public dollars. And one thing about these, what are ultimately federal dollars that come down, is they have many reporting strings attached. And so we have to account for every dollar, how it was spent, where it goes and all of that. And we have to report that to the state and to the federal government. So there's quite a bit of oversight about how this is spent. It has to be spent specifically as the grant is described by the state and fed. So we have to follow all of that. So, and then as Commissioner Ralph said, we are tasked to be good stewards of the dollars. So we'll continue to try and do that. Anything further, commissioners? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is grant award to Lewis and Clark County from the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Ann McCauley, Director of Grants and Purchasing. Before you today is a grant award from the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation for the implementation of an American Rescue Plan Act Minimum Allocation Award to do improvements to a county-owned stormwater and wastewater effluent pipe in Wolf Creek, Montana. For context, the state received American Rescue Plan Act funds similar to what we did at the local level back in 2021. The 2021 legislature dedicated a majority of those funds that the state received to go to necessary and critical wastewater and sewer projects, water and sewer projects. And that became what they called their minimum allocation program, of which there was a dedicated amount of funds for each county and municipality over a certain size throughout the state. Those funds did have a 1-to-1 match required for them. This project is being done in partnership with the Montana Department of Transportation through a memorandum of agreement that was signed back in 2022. It's being done in tandem with a major Montana Department of Transportation project that's taking place right now. If you've driven through the I-15 corridor for the last year and currently, you'll see that work that's being done. And I'll just provide a little bit of that context and history, and then I'll let our county engineer, Dan Carlin, provide the technical aspects of the project. So a little background on the funding for this project. Back in spring of 2022, this commission at that time allocated $88,500 of our direct ARPA funds to this project. MDT then went out for bid on that in, I believe, June, July of 22, and that bid came about twice as much as we anticipated, and they anticipated initially. And so we used this opportunity to apply our direct allocation match to the minimum allocation funds that we had available with DNRC to make a full project cost of $177,000. The grant award that you're reviewing today is $88,500, or half of that. The period of performance is February 1, 2022 through September 30th of 25. And the ARPA expenditure category is 5.5 clean water, other sewer infrastructure. At this time, I'd like to invite Dan Carlin up to provide technical aspects of the project.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Dan Carlin, County Engineer for the record. So the project in general is to do what's called CIPP, or cast or cured in place pipe. So this is a nice little illustration of what that actually does. So on the left, you can see an existing pipe the pitfalls that can happen with that. You get roots, you get just general deterioration, and then you start to have loss of the effluent into the ground around it. A lot of times they'll collapse and then you have no passage of that material as is. So what they do is they use it's essentially a fabric balloon that they insert into the existing pipe. They compress air, they fill it, and then they inject it with a resin or activate the resin that's in that material, and it expands out and then it cures in place, and you have a new lining, new interior wall of that pipe to perpetuate the flow of whatever that effluent or water is. So that's the idea. They've been doing this a lot. It takes specialty contractors to do this, it takes special equipment to do this. We had a pandemic that caused some prices to go up, as Ann alluded to. So the cost of this was quite a bit more than what we anticipated. For visuals, I'll come over here real quick and scroll down. So this is the location. This is the general location in the state. This is a more zoomed in location. It's right here that I'm kind of circling on the screen there, right there at the Wolf Creek interchange. This is the original plan set of when they reconstructed the interstate through there back in the earlier 2000s. The green highlight is where the pipe is located. That's where the original MOU and MOA with MDT for us to take over this pipe occurred.
Wait. That's 3 acronyms there, Dan. Come on. We got an audience here.
MOU is a
Let 'em
memorandum of
understand.
understanding or a memorandum of agreement, MOA. Typically, a pipe under the interstate is owned by the state. In this case, in order to facilitate the Wolf Creek Sewer Project to, upgrade their sewer system, they agreed to allow the county to take ownership of that pipe so we could use it for effluent, the outflow from that system. So we tied into it with a 6-inch PVC pipe for that effluent flow. It goes into this and then it drains downstream. That's
Completely cleaned up.
correct.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Cleaned up to DEQ standards. Let me say it that way. So again, this is the original plan set. It's very busy because this was an entire road reconstruction with ramps and all on and off ramps. I'm going to scroll down here. So this is what's called a cut sheet of our project. It shows I highlighted them in yellow. It shows our cured in place pipe. It shows the location over here on the station, and then the total length that we're doing work on. And then down here, again, this is the newer plan set. This is the current plan set. And this is 1 page out of the 70-page plan set of this entire MDT project. So you can see the location again a little bit more clearly. You can see the aerial photo behind it and the ramps, interstate ramps. So that's kind of what I had for you.
And Mr. Carlin, just to kind of wrap this up a little bit, the reason for this option, or one of the biggest reasons for this option, is the most economical and value-based option, because this pipe is long and under the interstate and is our pipe. So MDT, Montana Department of Transportation, essentially said, if that pipe fails, it is on you to replace that pipe. And if we had to dig up the interstate and how deep that pipe is, where in the location it is, it would be millions of dollars probably. So this is an opportunity to preserve that pipe for the long term and make sure that it is functional at the best value that we can for our taxpayers, and in partnership with MDT. And it's been inspected and all of that, and this is probably the best option. Speak to that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that's absolutely correct. So this pipe, you can see there on what's called the profile view down below. This is very deep. This is exceeding 10 feet deep. So if we had a pipe failure here, you're absolutely correct. We'd be obligated to replace it. Doing so would be very expensive. So we would have to follow OSHA excavation guidelines. So this excavation would be 100 feet either direction, roughly. That's a lot of asphalt for us to have to replace. That's a lot of backfill to have to come up in 6 inches at a time, compacting. And then on top of that, To close an interstate, which this would require to do, it actually takes an act of Congress to close an interstate in an emergency situation. So it would be a really big deal if this pipe failed and we had to replace it.
Yes, so this is a good option.
Very good option.
And a good solution. So thank you. Other questions, commissioners? Other
Nope.
questions? Okay. Thank you very much for the explanation and overview. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? If you have public comment, you need to come forward to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, if you would, please. Sorry, I thought I said that earlier, but no problem. It's not something that people do every day, so don't even worry about a thing. You can pull that microphone down
Okay.
too and just.
My name is Donna Dobler, D-O-B-L-E-R, and I'm a private citizen. I just wanted to ask if you could talk louder because we can't hear in the back.
Ah, okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Appreciate it. Is there volume control at all? Okay, we'll try and talk louder too. And I'll try and get closer to the microphone. Thank you for the heads up. Appreciate it very much. All right, commissioners, with no further public comment on this item, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the grant award to Lewis and Clark County for the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, as explained by Ms. McCauley and Mr. Carlin.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant award as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
If I might,
Please.
Mr. Chair, there are a lot of folks here, and I just want to discuss how some of the philosophy that I have used, and I believe the commission has used in using this money that came from Washington unexpectedly over the last few years. We made a decision to use that money for one-time purchases, which do not create long-term ongoing costs for our county, where we would have to raise taxes in order to continue programs. So this money, we chose to use this money for one-time items like this, things that need to be done, but we didn't have in the budget to do because we didn't want to raise the taxes. So I think this follows that guideline that we attempted to set up, and it is really going to save this particular case. Spending this money now this way is going to save us a lot of money, like you've explained, in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further discussion?
An earlier comment was made about studies and theories and why, and maybe this is wasting time. And I think the explanation from our county engineer as to they knew this was going on. This study came, we had the information, and I'm reminded of a saying, a stitch in time can save 9. Okay, if we take care of this today for $1, it saves us having to take care of it down the road for $100. That's the way we try to do things here at the county level, sort of helping take care of things, keeping it on an even keel before it becomes an emergency. I'm sure we all do this in our own homes, and we try to do the same in our home, the county.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'd just like to say thanks to Mr. Carlin and Ms. McCauley. As has been pointed out today multiple times, that these dollars are complicated. They came with lots of strings and lots of tracking, and every dollar is accounted for and where it goes and how it's spent. And that has to be tracked back over a number of years, even to the grantors, which is the federal government. So thank you for that good work. The applications and the paperwork and the working and the contracts with MDT and the partnership with MDT, those are all very complicated as well. So recognizing the hard work that's been put in, hours and hours of work to get this to this point. So thank you very much. All right, with that, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-28 to levy and assess the Bridge Creek Rural Improvement District number 2015-4. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Today you will be holding a public hearing to hear comments and objections regarding the final adoption of a resolution to levy and assess an annual special assessment of $300 upon each benefiting property within the Bridge Creek Rural Improvement District. This district is kind of shown in the center of your screen in purple. I realize there's a lot of purple up there, but it's just the one right in the center adjacent to the highway. The Bridge Creek RID was created through a citizen-initiated petition in 2015 to improve and maintain the road network within the Bridge Creek subdivision, located just to the east of Montana Avenue, to the west of the interstate, and north of Lincoln Road. Maintenance provided by this district includes snow removal and sanding as needed, pothole patching, crack sealing, chip sealing, and other maintenance as necessary to preserve the improvements. The maintenance assessment was set at $200 per property per year during an increase hearing last year. However, several areas within this district have been identified for drainage maintenance last summer. And this, combined with the impacts of inflation, shows a projected budget shortfall for the district maintenance. An increase to the assessment will ensure annual maintenance in Bridge Creek RID can be completed as detailed in the resolution that created the district. This is a total increase of $100 per property per year. An evening meeting was held with residents to discuss the need for this increase at the West Valley Fire Station on February 7th, 2024, with a total of 3 attendees. Legal notice of the increase in the public hearing was sent to all benefiting property owners and published in the Helena Independent Record on April 27th and May 4th. As of yesterday, 1 written testimony was received, and I have this for you today. This came after agenda posting, just came yesterday. So I do want to add this to the public record.
Please, thank you.
Thanks.
Staff recommend approval of the resolution to levy and assess the district, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Makis? So what we have a room full of people today, so we've talked about this many times, but it's good to go over it again. So when we look at any of our RIDs out there, our rural improvement districts or road improvement districts, we try to look at the assessment and the work in the resolution. So for example, if that's snow plowing and grading and or pothole patching or whatever is in the resolution, those are the things that folks are paying for. Those are the only things that we can spend the money on. And what you do, and some of the others on the team, look at, do we have enough money? Are we assessing enough money to do the work that the citizens want in their neighborhood, within their district? And if that answer is no, and if it's looking out and saying we're not going to have enough money to snowplow or grade or whatever next year, if we don't look at the assessment again, then you bring forward that information. We mail to all the people in the district. We invite them to a meeting, and then we hold a public hearing in order to hear their interests. And they have opportunity also to write to us as they've done here. So just for the folks' sake, we have this in front of us, but can you give the highlights of this comment, or what are they essentially asking for their pro or con to the effort?
Sure. Mr. Chair, first to address your comment, when we look at the RIDs that we have about 150 different RIDs throughout the county right now. Our team, which is myself, Caleb Marcus, Jade Wills, Jesse Whitford within the Public Works Department, We look at each of these districts on an annual basis. We look at that individual budget for each district. As assessments come in, through a special assessment on tax bills, that money for each RID is put into a separate fund for each district out there. That money can only be used on items that are set forth in the resolution that created the district. In 2015, when Bridge Creek was created, it clearly specifies in those resolutions that created the district how that money can be spent and what it's intended for. That money rolls over from year to year. It gains interest, but it is not intended to be to gain a surplus of money. So while with current inflation rates and things like that we're dealing with, we do have a lot of districts that we need to increase the assessment rate on. However, we also do decrease that assessment rate if that cash balance seems to be growing beyond what is needed for maintenance. Let's see. With this particular district, we did hold an evening public meeting. A notice went out to all 81 property owners by mail to invite them to the meeting in February, and only 3 people, unfortunately, were able to come to that meeting. So when we don't get a lot of participation there, it can be challenging to communicate the need for the increase, but that's not a meeting that's required, but this one is. And so to move forward to increase the resolution, we do hold this public hearing. Everybody is noticed again by mail. It's also published and invited to this meeting. The letter of testimony that we did receive yesterday speaks a little bit to the existing balance of the RID district. The gentleman that wrote in stated that there's about $74,000 in the fund for this district. However, that's not the case. There's about $49,000 in this district. However, when we look at the work that's needed to maintain the drainage, to then maintain that asphalt improvement, it's just not a sufficient balance for those activities to stay on that low frequency, high cost chip seal cycle, which is required to maintain these hard surface roads. We did see that price in 2021. We were paying about $1.70 per square yard for chip sealing. Right now, that cost is about $3. So unfortunately, we're in a time of inflation, and we just need to account for that. The letter goes on to state, I think there's some information that needs to be clarified in this letter, that currently the rate is $100 per resident per year. That's not the case right now. It is $200 per resident per year. But what we are looking at is a $100 increase. So that might have been, what this gentleman was referring to. I think it goes on to state an estimate of how much money would be accumulated in the fund over time, and whether or not that money could then be used to overlay all of the roads in the district. However, an asphalt overlay would require a new district. That would be a new improvement. And so at that
So for
time-
example, if it's not in the resolution,
Right.
we can't do it. We can't spend the money on something, even if they want something else, only what's in the resolution. We'd have to
Exactly.
create a new district and essentially.
Mr. Chair,
Nimble
that's
process.
correct. The RID process is not nimble.
No.
It is transparent though. And so, the idea being that to go beyond the existing improvement, we have to go back out, circulate a petition among property owners, and give each of those property owners an opportunity to object to that assessment and that improvement.
Thank you. And it's a good opportunity today to kind of do my thing that I do annually with the everybody roads versus the subdivision or local roads. And that is that some folks might say, geez, we pay our general taxes and some of that goes to public works and roads. Why isn't that the way that these are fixed? So the general taxes, like for myself, about $150 of my taxes or so, maybe a little more than that, go to public works and roads. And that's for the everybody roads. So that's for the Wiley Drives and the Sierra Road and the Lake Helena Drive and some of these roads that all of us drive, and you can't attribute them to a particular neighborhood or subdivision. Beyond that, in neighborhoods, just like in the city of Helena, there's a street fee on their taxes. Everybody pays a street fee. So if in a neighborhood like this in Bridge Creek, the people that use those streets every day are the ones that participate in keeping those streets up. And they help us decide what that might be. So we're really just a partner with them. Typically, these districts are brought forth by the citizens. They want to form a district to keep their streets going. Or if it's a new subdivision, we create that district at the outset so that when someone buys a property or home, that district's already created and they have that information at the outset so they know what their annual costs might be to take care of their streets and if they have sidewalks and those kinds of things, or a stormwater or park district or whatever it might be within their neighborhood that is the responsibility of that neighborhood to sustain or maintain. So that's kind of how it works. We all participate in that in our own neighborhoods in some way, shape, or form. And this is the effort to keep Bridge Creek's streets up to snuff. And this is what is estimated to be required to do that. So further questions, commissioners, or comments about that? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the
You're welcome.
explanation. Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay. Hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion on resolution 2024-28?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the resolution 2024-28 to levy and assess the Bridge Creek Rural Improvement District number 2015-4 as presented by Ms. Makis.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I'm going to vote for this change, but I think it's an opportunity to just reiterate that this is needed because of the inflation that has been caused by our federal government. Milton Friedman at one point said that, and he was a Nobel laureate in economics, he said, inflation occurs when the money supply grows faster than productivity. And our federal government has borrowed $35 trillion more than it had and put that money into the money supply. And then it shut us down during COVID, it destroying productivity. So things like this are a direct example of what the federal government has done to us. And we are obligated to take care of these smaller neighborhood subdivisions. And in order to do so, we have to raise the assessment on those neighborhoods because of the inflation that has been visited onto us by the poor judgment of our federal government.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Any further comment?
Nope.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. Next item on the agenda is resolution 2024-29 to levy and assess the Hillview Rural Improvement District number 2015-3.
Hey, again, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator. Today you'll be holding a public hearing to hear comments and objections regarding the final adoption of Resolution 2024-29 to levy and assess an annual special assessment of $300 upon each benefiting property within the Hillview Rural Improvement District. The total of 42 benefiting properties, a total of $12,600, will be assessed annually to fund maintenance of the RID. The Hillview RID was created through a citizen-initiated petition in 2015 to improve and maintain the road network within the Hillview subdivision. This is located to the north of Prairie Road between Applegate Drive and North Montana Avenue. Maintenance provided by this district includes snow removal and sanding as needed, grading, culvert maintenance, gravel maintenance, and other maintenance as necessary to preserve that initial 2015 improvement. The maintenance assessment was set at $150 per property per year during an increase hearing held in 2022. At that time, staff recommended a larger increase. However, property owners wanted to start with a smaller increase, which is what we went with. Since that time, however, grading costs have more than doubled, leading to a projected shortfall for district maintenance. An increase to the assessment will ensure annual maintenance in Hillview RID can be completed as detailed in the resolution that created the district. This is a total increase of $150 per property per year. An evening meeting was held with residents to discuss the need for this increase at the West Valley Fire Station on January 10th, 2024, with a total of 6 attendees. Legal notice of the increase in the public hearing was sent to all benefiting property owners and published in the Helena Independent Record on April 27th and May 4th, 2024. As of yesterday, no written testimony has been received. Staff recommend approval of the resolution to levy and assess the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to reiterate, this was a citizen-initiated district. They came to us saying we want to form a district to maintain our streets. And then you sent notices to everyone?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. This was a citizen-initiated district in 2015 to improve the gravel roads in that kind of lime green district that you see on the screen.
Right.
This included an initial improvement loan for a new gravel improvement. That loan is a 10-year loan, but that will be paid off this year, so about a year early.
6 people came to the meeting that you invited all to, and then you have received no public comment, written public comment.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. We sent a postcard notice, so it's clear right up front as you get your mail. Public meeting, you know, it's very clear on there when it is, where it is. But we did have 6 attendees, and we had a nice discussion, even though it was, you know, not attended by all of the residents as we would hope, but still a great discussion.
Thank you very much. Questions, commissioners, for Ms. Makis? Question? All right. How about public comment on this item? Public comment on this item. Public comment. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Gail Breezy Zimmer, and I'm within the district. I'm one of the people that developed the RID. So we understand the increased costs, and we recognize that our loan will be paid off. So that will help offset the increase. And we would like to have more participation, but you know how that goes.
Well,
So-
can you say your last name again?
Sure. Breezy Zimmer, BRIESE-ZIMMER.
Thank you. That
Yeah.
helps for the.
Yes, yes. So
But thank you very much for
Anyway.
being here. The participation is important for us. It helps us understand what the citizens in the neighborhood want and direction they want to head. So I really appreciate you.
yes, I'm one of 2 board members. We started out with 5 when we created this. We've tried to get more involvement just to make sure people are involved. And Jessica does a great job. You know, it is what it is, as Commissioner Rolfe mentioned, you know, we're all subject to the increases, and unfortunately it is painful. But we recognize that if we want to maintain our road, given all the improvements that we have made on it, we do recognize that we need to ensure that we have enough funds to keep it maintained. So appreciate your time and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comment. Further public comment? Any further public comment on this item? Any further public comment? All right. Hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion, please, on resolution 2024-29?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve resolution 2024-29 to levy and assess the Hillview Rural Improvement District number 2015-3 is explained by Ms. Makis.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
The only thing I would say is this is another example of what inflation is doing to us. And I appreciate the lady's explanation. And it will help a little bit when that original levy goes off. That'll help some.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Payne.
Yes, I do have a comment, and I appreciate the lady who takes the time to sit on the board and get the work done and try to encourage her neighbors to participate. I'm the newest county commissioner here. I've only been at it a year and a half. One of the biggest disappointments that I have in this whole system is the lack of participation of our citizens. The planning department, for example, they had a meeting out at Bird's Eye Fire Department the other day and we're trying to get information on what the citizens want. And there weren't, like 6 people there. And I'm pretty sure the same thing happened when they were doing the zoning meetings and the RID meetings. See, nobody shows up. These people are not mind readers. And if you want to participate, they certainly have plenty of opportunity. Our taxpayers are given every opportunity to, voice their opinions. I think Ms. Makis's comment about when this was initiated, they, instead of having the entire increase, they did, pursuant to the comments made, they lowered it or they spread it out further. We have a huge problem in communication. The opportunity is there for every taxpayer to come in and add their 2 cents. It may seem like we don't always listen, but maybe that's because we have other considerations. We were hired or we were elected because all of us have a certain amount of gray hair. We have experience, we have ideas. And unless somebody says otherwise, that's what we'll do. We'll use our judgment. We would like to have comments and judgment from people out there in taxpayer land. We're all taxpayers together. This impacts all of us. As Commissioner Rolfe pointed out, the inflation that we're all living with is pretty overwhelming. And I just wish people would come to these opportunities. So that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate your comments. All right, we have a motion to second on the table. Further discussion, Commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is Resolution 2024-30, intention to create the Lucky Strike Rural Improvement District number 2024-1. Again, good morning.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, again, Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator. Today is the public hearing regarding Resolution 2024-30, the intention to create the Lucky Strike Rural Improvement District. You can see this road, Lucky Strike Road, on your map. This is just off of Glass Drive in the northeast Helena Valley. A petition to create the district was received by staff for the purpose of improving and maintaining Lucky Strike Road. Again, this district is located just to the east of Glass Drive, about a mile north of Lincoln Road. The petition was signed by 55.6% of property owners within the proposed district, satisfying Lewis and Clark County's policy to consider RID petitions signed by at least 20% of property owners. There are 9 properties included in the proposed district boundary. The general character of improvements includes drainage, remediation, and culvert installation, the addition of approximately 1,347 cubic yards of gravel road surfacing, grading, watering, and compaction of the new material over the full extent of Lucky Strike Road. Lucky Strike Road is approximately 0.4 miles in length. Financing of these improvements is estimated to total $78,079. Each benefiting property is proposed to be levied a 15-year debt service assessment of $894 per year. The general character of maintenance includes, but is not limited to, snow plowing and sanding, culvert and drainage maintenance, grading, gravel maintenance, and other items as needed to preserve the road improvements. Annual maintenance is estimated to total $2,880, and each benefiting property is proposed to be levied a maintenance assessment of $320 per year. The total proposed assessment is $1,214 per property per year for the first 15 years, and then dropping to a maintenance assessment after that improvement loan is paid off. If the district is created, each property would be assessed an equal amount for the improvements and maintenance on Lucky Strike Road based on the total cost of improvements and maintenance. The resolution of intention to create the district would be advertised in the Helena Independent Record the next 2 Saturdays. A notice would be mailed to all benefiting property owners, and public comments would be accepted until 4 p.m. on Friday, June 21st, 2024 at the Lewis and Clark County Clerk and Recorder's Office. If this resolution passes today, the public hearing for the resolution to create the district would be scheduled for Thursday, June 27th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in this room. Any additional information needed in regards to the district? And folks can contact me at the Public Works Department. Staff recommend that the board approve Resolution 2024-30, the intention to create the Lucky Strike Rural Improvement District, and open the 30-day comment and protest period. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to reiterate here, this is a multi-step process. First, the citizens came to us with a petition saying we want to improve our road. We hold this hearing, and if this resolution passes, then a 30-day comment period ensues. After that, we hold another hearing or meeting. Is it a hearing? Meeting.
It's a hearing.
Hearing at that time. And we take comment again, and then we would potentially pass the creation of that district, correct?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. It's a 3-step process.
And then
So
the third step would be another meeting to consider the assessment and how much would be on that assessment. So it's a 3-step process.
Mr. Chair, correct. The first step, right, a citizen on Lucky Strike approached the county to initiate the creation of this district. We went over what would be included and prepared a petition, which was circulated among the residents, 55.6% support on that petition. That was returned, which initiates this first step, which is the intention to create the district. If this resolution passes, legal notice goes out to all potential benefiting property owners, and that comment and protest period is open for a minimum of 30 days. I believe this one has 2 days added onto that for the Memorial Day holiday, if this passes. And then that comment and protest would be heard at that second public hearing where the commission would consider the creation of the district at that time. If the district is created, another round of legal notice and publication goes out regarding the resolution to levy and assess the district. This would be the step that actually adds that assessment to the tax bill. At that time, once that final resolution is passed, we're able to apply for a loan through the Montana Board of Investments to actually initiate the improvements on the district.
Great. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we had that explanation. Questions?
One question for the for folks that are there, that if they decided they didn't want that, the district, they could protest it at some point. And if more than 50% protest, then the district will not be created. Is that right?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, that's correct. So during that comment and protest period, if we received a protest to the creation of the district by over 50% of the property owners in the proposed district, by law, the district cannot move forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Rolfe. Please, Commissioner Payne.
Thank you. Jessica, so each one of the previous resolutions to levy and assess the rural improvement districts that we talked about earlier, each one of those went through all the process that you have outlined for creation of this. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, that's correct.
Can't say they didn't get a chance to object.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That's all.
Thank you. All right, anything else you want to add?
No, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so we're discussing resolution 2024-30, which is a resolution of intent to create the Lucky Strike Rural Improvement District. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, if you would, please. Welcome.
I'm pretty timid, not used to this, so.
It's all
I
right.
Appreciate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and thanks to Jessica. I'm sorry I didn't get up sooner just because I'm timid. I'm from Hillview Drive. And
Will you
it
give
was-
us your name and address for the
Oh,
record?
I'm sorry. Marvin Walchuk. And I'm Hillview Drive.
Great, thank you.
And I just wanted to express my appreciation for your comments on the tough times that we're going through and the inflation, and appreciate your wisdom and your decisions on these matters. And really appreciate Jessica's work in this and on the RDIs, and just want to thank her very much, and the engineers that are doing the work and the assessments and that. And I know it's tough on the residents, and I talked to several neighbors and would ask them, you know, I'm new here, but I'd go to the neighbors and I ask them, you're going to go to this, aren't you? We need to participate. And well, I'm busy working or this or that or whatever. And they don't make it here, but, and I understand, but it is disappointing that more residents don't, you know, participate and come and want to be involved in this. So, but we certainly do appreciate your wisdom as we all get there. And thank you for your decisions and your wisdom.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate you being here today and for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further public comment? Any further public comment? All right, Commissioners, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move, approve resolution 2024-30, an intention to create Lucky Strike Rural Improvement District number 2024-1, as explained by Ms. Makis.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? Thank you. I think we've had some good discussion about this already, and looking forward to hearing public comment as it comes forward over the next month. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is resolution 2024-31 to abandon a portion of Circle Place, a county road right of way on the west side. And Crystal Ness is with us today. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Crystal Ness, Development Services Supervisor for Lewis and Clark County. This morning before you, you have Resolution 2024-31, which will be our final resolution to abandon Circle Drive over on the west side. Today in front of you, you have the resolution. We have deeds for execution. We have an amended plat for execution. And all of these documents will be recorded and filed with the clerk and recorder to finalize our Circle Drive abandonment. So this particular road is over on the west side. I'm going to leave my presentation like this. It's the Circle Drive on the corner of Park Drive and Hauser Boulevard. Let's see. My mouse doesn't seem to want to work on the. I got it. I got it, you guys. All right, here we go. So we're over on the west side. We're south of Euclid Avenue. This is an actual close-up of the parcel overlay on our wonderful county road mapping system. I believe back when the Bellevue addition was platted in 1889, Our forefathers might have thought that was a pretty good place for a fountain. But it's kind of over on the west side a little bit. Here's an aerial photograph that shows this actual piece of property. As you can see, the Circle Drive was never developed as a road. And we have installation of utilities. We've got a phone and electrical box right here. We've got a high pressure gas line that goes through here. As part of our conditions of approval, we are going to file a survey that's going to divide this right of way between the abutting property owners, except for this property owner over here on the west side. But as part of that, we've required them to dedicate these easements. So this is the exhibit that will actually be recorded with the 3 separate easements. We have the inside circle property owner. He will dedicate this portion of the easement, and this easement down here that would have been in that Circle Drive right of way. The property owner up here will dedicate this portion of the easement for that high pressure gas line. Here's a copy of the actual plat that we're going to be recording today. I've blown up this portion down here by Circle Drive. Our conditions of approval require the resolution to be placed, number to be placed on the survey. And down here as well. Now, this portion of Circle Drive is still going to remain. It's 30 feet wide. So out of all of the portions that I showed you on the previous slide, this is really where our business is down here. And once again, here's the aerial photograph showing where this particular piece of property is. With the execution of all of the documents that we have here today, we will finish this abandonment of this Circle Place, distribute the property to the abutting property owners, and we have met our obligation under the petition process to abandon this county road right of way. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. And I just want to kind of provide a larger context. Over the last few years, we have been systematically, I guess, cleaning up this area in terms of, you talked about in the 1800s, some of these roads were platted and they never were built and they never were they're not intended to be. And now some of this property, a great portion of this property is going to be brought into the city of Helena, or has already been brought into the city of Helena. And some of these streets remain on the maps, and we're just trying to clean them up and make sure that those that need to be abandoned are abandoned, and make way for the new streets that are actually going to be built in the coming years.
Chairman Hunt, Housing Commissioners, that's exactly right. If any of you have had the pleasure to ride the tour train, back in the 1880s, the communities in Montana were fighting over who was going to become the capital of the state of Montana. So in 1889, we have a number of plats that were filed over on the west side that created these rights of way. In this particular instance, may have created a lot for a fountain, but none of those roads or streets were ever developed. The lots have not been built on. And depending on what the particular property owner would like to do relative to their property, we have abandoned some of these streets. Our previous action abandoned all of these rights of way that we have down here, which will make way for this large development over here on the west side that will provide walking trails to come up to where they connect onto La Grande Canyon. And of course, all of this property down here has been annexed into the city. And that's all of the property that they have purchased with some of our military support to provide for open space.
Thank you very much. Questions, commissioners, about this particular resolution? Any questions? Okay, hearing none.
I could comment. I went out and looked at this with Crystal. It's it's a pretty steep part of our geography out there, but I guess if those engineers can do amazing things. So thank you for your hard work on this, Crystal.
Thank you, Commissioner. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Chairman, I move to approve resolution 2024-31 to abandon a portion of Circle Place, a county road right of way as presented by Crystal Ness.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? All right, thank you, Crystal. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right. We are at the end of our listed agenda items. And prior to public comment, I see our elections supervisor here, Connor Fitzpatrick. I'm going to call him up. There's been some developments lately and just some updates maybe from the elections world. Welcome.
Mr. Chair, County Commissioners, good morning. As you may have, oh yes, I do need to do that. Connor Fitzpatrick, Lewis and Clark County Elections Division Supervisor. As you may have noted, we are now into the primary election. Those lovely, I call it fuchsia envelopes, have been sent out. We have a bit of an inner office discussion going, whether they're purple, pink, fuchsia, or what have you, but either way, they are out there. Those are your primary ballots, folks. If you're an absentee voter, if you're a polling place voter, we expect to see you at the polling place on June 5th, 4th, November 5th. Sorry. All right. So brief update. The school turned out pretty highly overall. Just over 50% of people turned in their school ballot for the East Helena or Helena School District elections. It's a pretty high turnout compared to what we've seen in past years, which is usually about 30 to 35%. So we will be going through the canvass for that election to make the results official with the canvass board, which just so happens to be you folks here at the front of the room, our friendly county commissioners. On Tuesday next week at, I believe it is 1 p.m. in the, I think it's meeting room 309, if I remember correctly. Public is more than welcome to attend the canvass. It's where we present the quote unquote story of the election, go through the number of ballots issued, the number returned, and the end results. The county commissioners then, as a check upon the power of the election administrator, my boss, are the ones to officially declare the results of the election official and not the election administrator. So we do that after every election. If you're interested in attending, please do. Otherwise, we will also have one of those after the primary. If you're interested, contact my office. More than happy to share the date and time with that for any members of the public watching here or at home. I just can't remember it off the top of my head right now because we're in the middle of a primary. Lots of fun. 3 primary parties are working this time around. We've got Democrat, Green, and Republican in alphabetical order. For those of you who have received an absentee ballot, pick one of those parties, vote only one, and return only one. If you vote multiples and return multiples, we cannot accept your vote. So please only vote for one party ballot there. If you're interested in split ticket voting, you can do that in the general in November. The primary election, as Montana is an open primary state, the primary election is to pick the party representative for that position on the November ballot. So hence the requirement to stick with one party and vote it all the way through. Now, we did have a bit of a hitch with the primary, and I take full ownership of it, unfortunately. Because of the local government review, we have a lot more splits than normal. So a lot of our precincts are split.
Explain what the split, oh, you're just going to do that. Sorry. Okay.
A lot of our splits or our precincts are split between Lewis and Clark County and the Helena city limits, or the East Helena city limits and Lewis and Clark County. Precinct 19 is actually split among all 3. So that means we have 3 ballot styles for that precinct specifically. The ballot styles are different because of the local government review question and the bond and levy questions from the city of Helena. So every 10 years, the state of Montana Constitution requires that we run a local government review question asking the citizens, hey, do you want to create a study commission to review your local government? Yes or no? For this year, for our precincts that are split, all the folks in the county get the county question. They're all residents of the county, so they all have input. If you live within the city limits of the city of Helena, you get the city of Helena question alongside the bond and levy question. We'll get to that in a moment. And if you live in the city of East Helena, you also get the East Helena question alongside the Lewis and Clark County question, but not the city of Helena question. All depends on where you live, which is why we have splits in those precincts. The bond and levy for the city of Helena, the bond is for a public safety, the levy is for a public safety levy. The bond is for a new fire station. They've been doing a lot of outreach on that. So I would say contact them if you have any questions on those two items. Beyond that, though, the snafu was that we swapped our LC in our Helena into 3 precincts.
Slow down. You swapped what?
A lot of information I'm trying to get out.
Yeah,
We
I know,
swapped
but we're
our
not in a
ballot
rush. And a lot of us are elderly and have trouble, going from the ears into the brain. LC, that's Lewis and Clark County.
Yes, LC is
Do
our
not
Lewis
use
and Clark County.
acronyms when you talk fast.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be the federal government, right?
Okay.
So LC, Lewis and Clark County ballot style. HLN, Helena ballot style. EH, East Helena ballot style. We had swaps in precincts 6, 12, and 15, where our LC County voters got Helena items and our Helena voters only got Lewis and Clark County items. We are currently working on getting those ballots put together, and we are looking to mail out tomorrow. This issue was brought to us frequently, and we are putting everything on it to get it rectified. For the votes or the folks that have already turned in their ballot, we're going to contact them and go, hey, you may have gotten questions that you were not eligible for, or you may have not gotten all the questions you are eligible for. We are going to put everything we can into this to make sure that, one, the city of Helena does not have their results skewed for their bond and levy and local government question, and to give everybody the correct questions to vote on. So hopefully that helps clarify a few things, because there was a press report on that we provided input on, but wanted to give a full transparent picture of everything that's going on that. Like I said, I apologize profusely for every voter that we have to contact. We will again apologize profusely. We are, at the end of the day, only human, and sometimes it crops up in the most nightmare ways imaginable. This was one of my personal concerns going into this, with a increase of ballot styles due to the local government review. Usually we would have 1 ballot style per precinct in a primary and general election. So that would be 32. Now we have 45 because of those East Helena, Helena, and county splits. So
Wait,
like I said,
45 what?
45 ballot styles before parties. So in a way, each of those splits is its own ballot style.
So I'm trying to, I think other people may be, this is really
I'm happy to answer
complicated.
questions during and after as well.
Thank you, Connor. It's just 45 ballot styles?
Yes, 45 ballot styles.
No wonder there's some confusion. Thank you for your hard efforts.
It is a lot to keep track of. And then you add in the 3 different parties that we have for the primary, and we have 135 total different types of ballot, 3 per split/precinct. So, yep, a lot of hard effort and hard work went into proofing the system, and we just missed a couple of items. So, like I said, we take ownership of that. We are human, we apologize, and we are working to rectify it. Looking to send those out Friday so that the absentee voters still have a chance to cast their reissued ballot, and we can get a hold of everyone and go, hey, you may not have gotten everything that you needed, or you may have gotten too many things. So, like I said, happy to answer further questions about that. Always happy to answer questions generally. Elections is the backbone of our society, in my personal opinion. And unfortunately, it has had a lot of additions over time that may not make it as clear as it should be. So always happy to discuss through things.
Thank you, Connor. Questions, Commissioner Rawl?
If I understand you correctly, the error that was found in the ballots that originally went out were just in precincts 6, 12, and 15.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, that is correct. And more so, the error was not in the ballots themselves, but rather who received said ballots. So that was a human error that was put into the statewide voter database that then issues based on where people's residential address is. And unfortunately, when you name something incorrectly, the computer's like, yep, that's named correctly because you should have checked that, and issues it anyway. So here we are, unfortunately.
If I might follow up.
Please.
So people that don't live in those 3 precincts are not affected.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, you are correct. Everyone who is not in precinct 6, 12, or 15 has received the correct ballot. We have double, triple checked on those just to make darn sure we did not have a larger issue on our hands.
Okay. But not everybody maybe in those precincts is affected because of the way the split is set up.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, everyone in the affected precincts are affected because it was a direct one-to-one swap on the ballot style naming. So unfortunately, members of my own family are affected by this one. They're in the county and they've got City of Helena questions, so they will also be getting a reissued ballot.
So everybody in those 3 precincts will get a reissued ballot. If they have already sent in a ballot, what will happen to it?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, everyone who's an absentee voter within those precincts will get a reissued ballot. If it comes down on election night and we have just the original ballot received for that voter, then we will reconcile it at the end of the night, making sure that everything is good and that will not impact the results one way or another, and rather add to the results for the races that the voter was supposed to receive, rather than detracting from the races that they were not supposed to receive.
So everybody in those 3 precincts will get a new ballot, and you will intercept the ones. You have a way of finding them from I suppose, the security envelope with our signature on it. They can tell whether you're in that precinct or not. So only those precincts, only the people that that send their ballot in from those 3 precincts, then will have to get another ballot, which you're going to send out this week or next.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, yes, all absentee voters for those 3 precincts will receive a new ballot. It's going to have reissued in the address label showing that this is the new one. And currently my staff are already pulling aside we have been since Monday, the ballots that have been returned from these precincts already. So as I mentioned, we are going to contact those voters, make sure that they are aware that they have received a new ballot that has everything they are eligible for on it. Try to get them to vote that one so that we don't have to do further work on election night. But we are fully prepared to continue working on election night, continuing outreach on this. And we're also going to be including a letter in each of these reissues stating this is what happened. We apologize and thank you for bearing with us as we correct this issue.
For those people who do not receive absentee ballots, their situation will be corrected before they go to the polls then.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, yes, I'm going to impress upon the chief judges at our chief judge training here 2 weeks from now, not to make the mistake that we made, because that would further complicate things. So in essence, we're going to use our mistake to teach others not to do exactly what we've done. Other counties have done this in the past, so it's not the first time Secretary of State's office has assisted on an issue like this. Yellowstone County had a similar issue happen in 2018. So we are just the most recent unfortunate perpetrators of said accident. So we'll make darn sure that our chief judges are aware, issue the correct ballot to the voter at the polling place, pay attention to all the fine details so that you don't end up with egg on your face like I have today.
All right, one more question. if you
Please.
mind. If I've received a ballot from one of those three precincts, 6, 12, and 15, and I haven't sent it in yet, I will be getting another ballot sometime in the next week or so. And if they're sitting there, how do they, and they happen to wind up getting mixed up, which one will there be a way to tell if it's the second ballot easily?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, yes, so looking in the address pane on the affirmation window, reprint will be the key item there. All the ones that have been sent erroneously have already been voided in the system. Again, should we only receive the one from the voter, that is the one that we have to work with. Unfortunately, that is what they voted, so we will proceed with our plan on election night to make sure everything reconciles at the end of it all. But for those folks that are out there asking, okay, so what should I do now? We have been recommending that those folks hold on to their current ballot, because if you get rid of it and you somehow don't receive the reissued one through the post office or something else happening, because the world has a lot of moving parts in it, you don't want to discard your old ballot just in case you need to come in and go, hey, here's my old one, like, what do I need to do here? Or if something comes up and you go, okay, well, I'm out of time because in my personal life, I've got things going on. I'm just going to vote this one and I have to go out of state now for XYZ reason. We're telling people to hold their current ballots until the new ones have arrived, just in case something happens in their life where they have to, cast a ballot real quickly, and then they're not going to be around until after June 4th. We're not telling people to, we're telling people not to discard their current ballots until they've received the new ones, is the short.
But those like myself who like to go into the ballot and cast my own ballot, they don't have to worry because it'll be corrected by the time I get there.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, that is correct. Yes, I will be hammering into our chief judges the knowledge of not making the same mistake that the office made, unfortunately. So I will make sure that they leave our chief judge meeting well understanding and fully comprehending the potential outcomes that may come with issuing the voter an incorrect ballot.
Thank you.
Local government review, keeping things exciting.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you.
Connor, really appreciate your update today. And I think we're intending to invite you back next Thursday just for another update, if you're willing to come and share with us how things are going and where we are in the process, so people can listen in on that if they'd like, or come and sit in the audience. So thank you very much for being here today. The last question I have for you is, if anyone in the audience here or anyone at home has questions about the election, if they need to get a hold of you, how do they do that? Because I'll preface that with, as they call us, we're not the experts on elections. You are. So we usually refer the questions to you and your boss, Amy Reeves, the treasurer, clerk, and recorder, for answering those questions. So how do they get a hold of you or your office?
Mr. Chair, commissioners, members of the audience, so the easiest way to get hold of me right now is email, because I am up and down from my desk making phone calls all day long. I am the man where insanity is almost incarnate with my day job. Sure, a few of the folks watching here have seen me running around crazy, making sure everything is as it should be, everything is proceeding forward. So my email address, give everyone a moment here to pick up their pens, pencils, phones, however, so that I can start rattling this off. CFITZCountymT.gov. So in non-phonetics, cfitzpatrick@lccountymt.gov. The main office line, 406-447-8339. If I haven't gotten back to your email for a couple of days, feel free to give us a call, and our staff will chase me down.
Great. Thank you very much. And if folks weren't able to write all of that down, it is very apparent on the county website under elections.
Yes, I believe our public facing elections email inbox is also up there. I have staff monitoring that every day. So if I get a question, well, if we get a question rather, that is more aimed towards me, it gets forwarded to me, to which I respond.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today. Anything further, commissioners? Okay, thank you very much. All right.
And, just one more time, we deeply apologize for the snafu. We have learned to quadruple check everything now. So here we are.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we are at the point in our meeting where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. And I'll just preface that with, we have a large number of folks in the audience today. And if some of you are interested in providing comment to the commission, we ask that you come forward, just line up. You can come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record so that we have a good record of who's provided comment to the commission. And this is public comment. So this is the time where we listen to you. It isn't a debate. It isn't a question and answer session. It isn't, time for us to try and answer all of your questions. We will try to listen, take those down, take them under consideration. And in many cases, like example of Mr. Fitzpatrick was just here, if it is related to his work, then we will relate those questions to him for his help answering them, and vice versa. If it's somebody that has interest in a road or their subdivision or whatever it might be, we'll try and take those comments under consideration, but we're probably not going to be going back and forth today. We'll take public comment and try to absorb that. So with that, everyone ready to continue? Good to go? Okay, with that, we will take public comment on anything that's under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. And just please come up one after another. Please state your name and address for the record again, if you would, please. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Darren Gaub. Last name is spelled G-A-U-B. I live at 524 8th Avenue. Last time I was up here and spoke to everybody, I'd mentioned about the illegal alien invasion that was affecting this nation, and that was a crisis that needed to continue to be addressed. Now I'm going to talk to you today briefly about our election systems and processes. And there are three of us that will speak today, despite the number of folks you see in the room. And this is actually very critical to our constitutional republic. In the last 4.5 years, I've been working across the nation in 35 states in 15 countries, actually, organizing people, trying to analyze and look at our election systems and the problems and successes that are in all of those. I can come up with three main themes that I have seen everywhere we have worked, and that's from Hawaii to Pennsylvania and all points in between. Simple loss of trust, a lack of transparency, and ignorance of or lack of the desire to adhere to the rule of law. As a result of all of that work, we are now pushing people to work at the local levels, including my team helping with people in New Mexico make a documentary called Let My People Go. That was part of our efforts with my organization, and what the cost of speaking truth is to many people around the country. It doesn't come free. These elections are for all citizens. We, the people, every single one of us, whether we agree with somebody or not, doesn't matter. They just have to be trustworthy and accurate. So therefore, all we demand ultimately is transparency, is to follow the law. And by doing so, then we can regain some of the trust that is lost across this country in our election systems. And next, you'll hear more about why some of that trust is actually gone in the legal world. And ultimately, the burden of proof is not on we the people anymore. It's up to the counties and the states to prove that they are doing things right and able to convince us that we should trust our elections as they are right now. Because as you've just seen with Connor's testimony, they're only human and massive mistakes can be made. And we, the people, have the right to look at everything to make sure it is right within the law. And we know that. So I'd like to hand off next to Mrs. Mary Tapper, who will discuss a few critical items for you. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you for your comment. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. My name is Mary Tapper, T-A-P-P-E-R. I have been a licensed attorney in Georgia and Montana for 33 years, and I'm a resident of Lewis and Clark County. I'm here to speak in support of the public records request submitted by Darren Gobb on May 1st, 2024, addressed to Connor Fitzpatrick, Amy Reeves, Andy Hunthausen, Tom Rolfe, Candace Payne, and Austin James, requesting all cast vote records, known as CVRs, and CVR summary digital files for the primary election to be held on June 4th, 2024, and the general election on November 5th, 2024. I'm not a software or hardware engineer. However, there are state and federal laws which pertain to this public records request. Montana Code Annotated Section 13-1-109 provides as follows, quote, election records open to public. Unless specifically provided otherwise, all records pertaining to elector registration and elections are public records. They shall be open for inspection during regular office hours. The Montana Constitution, Article 2, Part 2, Declaration of Rights, Section 9, provides as follows, quote, right to know. No person shall be deprived of the right to examine documents or to observe the deliberations of all public bodies or agencies of state government and its subdivisions, except in case in which the demand of individual privacy clearly exceeds the merits of public disclosure, unquote. Moreover, federal law also applies to the access of election records. The Help America Vote Act, known as HAVA, was signed into law by President George W. Bush on October 29th, 2002, and addressed a variety of improvements to voting systems and voter access that were identified following the 2000 election. HAVA established the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, known as EAC, as an independent bipartisan federal agency charged with developing guidance to meet HAVA requirements, adopting voluntary voting system guidelines, as well as standards for states to follow in election administration. In Chapter 6, System Security, under the topic of audit data in the EAC Election Management Guidelines, it is stated, quote, a voting system has several different audit logs. These logs record each event that occurs on the system from the time used to initially begin an election until the final vote tally and the devices are shut down. Election officials should review the audit log documentation or obtain a complete description of audit log codes or descriptions from the voting system manufacturer for the audit logs available on the voting system. Election officials should become familiar with the content of these logs and learn how to print them, unquote. This is a direct quote from the EAC guidelines for election administrators. Also, digital files may be generated from these machines, which is the easiest method. The state of Montana enacted legislation in 2003 to implement the requirements of HAVA. Among the requirements was a complaint procedure for alleged violation of Title III of HAVA. The Montana Secretary of State has such an elections complaint form, which enumerates the violations of Title III, including, quote, failure to comply with federal voting system standards. I'm not going to read this HAVA section, and I am submitting all of this documentation to you for your review. I've done the research, and I understand you all are busy and don't have time to do it, but I would hope that you would review all of this information I'm submitting. This section defines the practices and documentation required and was included in the public records request, which was clear and unambiguous. With respect to the public records request submitted to the election administrator for the CVRs on May 1st, 2024, she has consistently rejected this request by insisting that, Quote, "We do not use, produce, create, nor have in possession a CVR." Chris Woloshyn, Vice President of System Security at ES&S, who is the manufacturer of the machines that Lewis and Clark County uses, has publicly stated on several panels, quote, "Our equipment, the ES&S tabulator, has audit logs turned on by default so that any keystroke, any operation, any issue to do with the voting machine is recorded on an audit log in the polling place. If cast vote records and ballot images are turned on, which they are by default, you'll be able to print those reports and look at CVRs to compare the machine tally versus the batch of ballots," unquote. Chris Woloshyn also testified before the 2023 Montana Legislative Session in the Special Committee on Election Integrity that engaging the audit log does not slow down the tabulator, as the election administrator has contended. I want to emphasize the importance of this statement by the Vice President of System Security. These audit logs, which includes the CVRs, are turned on automatically. Therefore, if the elections administrator is unable to produce the CVRs, the only logical conclusion is that she has deliberately disabled the ability of the tabulator to print these reports. In her May 3rd, 2024 response to the public records request, she states, quote, "Please note, Lewis and Clark County does not have and has not used the CVR. The CVR is not part of our normal procedures and therefore does not and will not exist. Therefore, there is no CVR to provide you," unquote. In his response dated May 8th, 2024, Mr. Gobb provided the elections administrator with pertinent language from HAVA Section 301B2E and EAC guidelines, which requires election officials to review the audit log documentation to become familiar with the content of the logs and learn how to print them out. However, she repeated her refusal to provide the documentation on May 13th, 2024, as follows, quote, "Please note, we do not use, produce, create, nor have in possession a CVR. As I stated, we will also not be creating a CVR report for the elections you have referred to." Contrary to her assertion that CVRs are not created and do not exist, these reports are immediately available by the push of a button, as shown on the reports menu in the ES&S manual. And I have included a copy of that screenshot that shows exactly how this can be done. I'm not an expert, as I said, but it is extremely clear what is required. No additional effort on anyone's part to create them is required. And also, it's important to note that there is no personal identifying information on any of these reports. These responses to thwart the public records request beg many questions. Is the election administrator wholly uninformed with respect to how the ES&S tabulator even operates and what her responsibility is to preserve election records and produce them when the voters of Lewis and Clark County request them? Has she ever reviewed HAVA or the EAC guidelines to understand what is required of election officials? That is, become familiar with the content of the logs and learn how to print them out? Is the election administrator deliberately concealing records from the voters? Is the Secretary of State directing the election administrator to deny disclosure of these records? Whatever the reason may be for her stonewalling and refusal to provide these documents, it is unacceptable and a clear violation of election law. Since this issue was not on the Commission's agenda today, and these concerns are offered during the public comment period, I realize the Commissioners have no duty to respond. However, the county's failure to produce any documentation requested is disappointing, frustrating, and shows a lack of transparency on the part of our elected officials. If these documents are readily available by merely pressing a button on the tabulator, what is the county hiding? No extra effort is required, in producing this documentation. The elections administrator has stated she has no intention of providing the CVRs for the primary election in June or the general election in November. There are remedies at law to obtain public records as guaranteed by the Montana Constitution, state and federal law. The county should govern itself accordingly. In conclusion, when I was sworn in as an attorney in Montana 15 years ago, I pledged to defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Montana. I took that oath very seriously during my employment with the state of Montana. My hope is that the elected officials of Lewis and Clark County remember the oath they took. Thank you. And
Thank you very
I'm
much.
And I'm going to give you all copies of the presentation as well as the exhibits.
That'd be great. Thank you for your public comment. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Hunthausen, Commissioners Candace Payne and Tom Rawl. My name is Gina Riley. Riley is spelled R-E-I-L-L-Y. These are our concluding remarks. Since the CVR seems to be the big sticking point, my concluding remarks will primarily focus on the digital file. I just yesterday downloaded the user manual for the DS 850, which is 199 pages of instructions for the 3 ES&S machines Lewis and Clark County purchased and used for elections. It is unfortunate that I have to read the manual to determine what reports are needed to conduct a citizen's audit. It would be nice if there was transparency and cooperation so we could and would work together. Our final response to Amy Reeves, the Lewis and Clark Clerk and Recorder, regarding her latest response to our public records request will include all necessary files and instructions to conduct said audit. It is worth repeating what was stated by Chris Velashin, ES&S Vice President of System Security. Quote, "Our equipment has audit logs turned on by default. This is a critical point. Someone had to manually turn that function off. Why and for what purpose? This is a material requirement in the EAC guidelines in HAVA. The Secretary of State and elections administrators are required to save this information, and not preserving these election records is a violation of state and federal election laws for the preservation of election data. So that's 22 months. There is a very simple definition in federal regulation for CVRs, electronic record of a voter's selection. It is digital. There is nothing that can identify the voter. It is important that citizens have confidence in the election process, and it has to be auditable. We need to trace the results back to the original records. Counting the ballots on the CVR must match the results that are posted by the Secretary of State and the county. CVRs also allow the detection of certain anomalies, which you can only have when viewing the sequence in which the ballots were tabulated. It is your duty as Lewis and Clark commissioners to follow the current state and federal election laws. I have two very pertinent quotes. The first is Westbury versus Sanders, 1964, an opinion by Justice Hugo Black. No right, quote, "No right is more precious in a free country than that of having a voice in the election of those who make the laws under which, as good citizens, we must live. Other rights, even the most basic, or illusory, I don't know that word, Barry. Sorry about that. If the right to vote is undermined. The second is COI 127 US 731 1888. Congress seeks to guard the election of members of Congress against any possible unfairness by compelling, under its pains and penalties, everyone concerned in holding the election to a strict and scrupulous observation of every duty devolved upon him while so engaged. The evil intent consists in disobedience to the law. So in conclusion, in respect for your time, thank you. We ask that anyone present that supports this presentation, our public records requests, and considers the actions of the County Commission and Clerk and Recorder to be in violation of state and federal laws to please stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your public comment. Appreciate it. Is there any further public comment? Any further public comment today? Any further public comment? Really appreciate everyone being here today. Thank you very much for those that commented. Thank you for the good work that we've done today, commissioners. And with that, we will stand adjourned.